When I had an argument with my childhood sweetheart, Brandon, I never expected what would happen next. In a fit of anger, he slapped me across the face in front of everyone. That same day, I deleted every trace of him from my phone. Everyone around me was shocked. After all, I had grown up with Brandon. I had loved him since I was little, chasing after him for a full 9 years. Elsa, just because of that one slap? Someone asked, confused. Yes, I replied firmly, just because of that slap. When Brandon's hand struck my cheek, I was too stunned to react at first. The sound echoed in the classroom, and I stumbled back. My head rang and my left cheek first went numb, then burned like fire. I raised a trembling hand to cover my face, looking at him in disbelief. My childhood sweetheart had just hit me, and he did it in public. It all started because of a simple argument with the new transfer student. Brandon realized what he had done. His expression froze for just a moment, but soon his face turned cold with anger and frustration. Can you stop making a scene, Elsa? Go back to your seat, he said sharply. A few classmates let out soft laughs. Most stayed silent, watching the drama unfold. Beside Brandon, Clara, the new girl, twirled a strand of her glossy chestnut curls and let out a mocking click of her tongue. Oh, Brandon, what are you doing? Your little princess is about to cry. Brandon's voice turned colder. Elsa, if you want to cry, go home and do it there. This is school, not your personal stage. Shame, hurt, and resentment swirled inside me. Big tears rolled down my face. I could hear a few boys laughing. Without thinking, I turned and ran out of the classroom. I had no idea where I was going, only that I couldn't stay. I couldn't bear to see those faces again. Brandon had never been gentle with me, but he had never hit me until now, and this was the first time anyone had ever slapped me. Brandon and I had known each other since we were 3 years old. Our families had been close friends for more than a decade, living in apartments across the hall from each other. I had liked Brandon for as long as I could remember. Back in primary school, I was often bullied by boys. One in particular was awful. He sat behind me, pulled my hair, stuck chewing gum on my chair, and even slipped firecrackers into my desk. I went to the teacher in tears. The teacher scolded him briefly but then smiled and said he probably did it because he liked me. I didn't believe that for a second, and the boy didn't stop. I told my parents. They were furious and were about to storm into school to complain when Brandon's father, who happened to be visiting, stepped in. He called Brandon over and told him to take care of me from now on. Even though we were the same age, we were in different classes, but during recess the next day, Brandon came straight to my classroom. He dragged that boy out and gave him a solid beating. Brandon had always been tall and strong, with a bold personality. He took down that boy and his friends without hesitation. Before he left, he warned everyone, whoever dares to bully Elsa again, just wait and see. That was the moment I fell in love with him. From then on, I followed him everywhere. I was his little shadow, clinging to his side. Brandon did not like me tagging along. He thought it was unmanly to be seen with a girl who cried easily and always wore pink. But I was persistent. I kept chasing after him, calling him Brother Brandon every chance I got. After a few years, he began to soften. His eyes lingered on me longer. Sometimes, when we made eye contact, he would freeze, stutter, or blush before changing the subject. One day, Brandon's father joked that since we were so close, they might as well arrange a childhood engagement. Brandon didn't say anything, but he held my hand tightly. I noticed his ears were red. Feeling warm inside, I smiled and said loudly, "Okay, I want to marry Brother Brandon." Everything seemed perfect until high school. In our first semester, a new transfer student joined our class. Her name was Clara. People said her family moved because of her parents' jobs. She had top grades and a dazzling smile. On her first day, she walked into the room with shiny chestnut curls and told the teacher proudly, "My hair is natural, light in color, and curly by itself." Then she turned to glance around the classroom. When her eyes landed on me, she paused, then she burst out laughing. "Oh my God," she said. "Is that a Barbie princess? What is this pink everywhere?" I sat frozen. She laughed louder. You're a high school student, right? What's with all the cutesy pink? So embarrassing. Everyone looked at me. My cheeks flushed with shame. Yes, I liked pink. Everything I owned was pink. My school bag, my teacup, my hair clip, my shirt, my sweater, my phone case, even the little keychain hanging from my backpack, because pink made me feel safe, because it reminded me of the childhood I spent beside Brandon. But that day, under Clara's gaze and the silent judgment of the class, I had never felt so small. Back in primary school, people often talked about me. Some boys used to say I was the kind of girl who acted overly sweet and fake, while some girls thought I was just pretending to be cute. Still, most of my classmates were kind. Many girls even told me I was adorable and that pink really suited me. But this was the first time someone had mocked me so openly, so unfiltered, and in front of so many people. I was stunned and embarrassed. For a moment, I wished the ground would open up and swallow me whole. Clara laughed and said, "Haha, sorry. I tend to speak bluntly. Don't get mad, little princess." She even winked playfully, as if it were no big deal. Come on, it's your first day here. Maybe just try saying a little less, right? Just then, a voice interrupted her. Enough. It was Brandon, sounding impatient. I turned around and saw him frowning at Clara, clearly displeased. Clara raised an eyebrow and shot him a teasing look. Oh, the princess's knight in shining armor has arrived. What are you even talking about? Are you insane? Brandon snapped. He slammed his hand on the table and stood up. The teacher immediately scolded him and told him to sit back down. After that, the teacher assigned Clara to the only empty seat in the room. Coincidentally, or maybe not, that seat was right in front of Brandon, and just like that, they became desk partners, one sitting behind the other. I did not know when they started getting closer. It just happened. One morning, the strawberry milk that Brandon's father used to ask him to bring me was suddenly replaced with plain milk. I stared at the box, annoyed. I hated plain milk. Did he not know that? Brandon noticed and patted my head. Come on, it's just milk. The strawberry one comes in a pink box, and at your age, it's not really suitable. Drink plain milk instead. It's healthier. Clara, who was also holding a box of plain milk, turned her head and gave me a smile that looked a bit sheepish. Sorry, little pink, I like plain milk, so I asked Brandon to bring it for me. Strawberry milk is way too sweet. It's kind of gross. Do all you little girls really like drinking that stuff? I frowned and stared directly at her. Do you like giving people nicknames? She paused, surprised by my reaction. Then she gave a helpless little laugh. Wow, why so serious? I was just joking. You're way too sensitive. Was I really too sensitive, or was she just feeling guilty? I knew the answer. All right, Elsa, Brandon said, stepping in to ease the tension. Clara really doesn't think before she talks sometimes. Don't take it to heart. My eyes stung with tears. I pushed Brandon away, angry and frustrated. If you can't speak nicely, I snapped at Clara, then just don't speak at all. Brandon looked shocked and quickly wrapped his arms around my waist. Okay, I was wrong. Don't be mad. I'll bring you strawberry milk tomorrow, I promise. Clara's expression changed. She glared at me, her eyes sharp. From the next day on, Clara started targeting me more obviously. When I took out pink packaged tissues, she loudly exclaimed, "Wow, even your tissues are pink. Are you trying to become a Barbie doll or something?" During group cleaning, when I used a damp tissue to wipe down a broom handle, she winked at the boys and said, "Here comes the princess with her royal habits." And every 2 weeks, when it was time to switch seats, I always found it tiring to move desks around. When I sat down to rest, Clara shouted across the classroom, "Quick, someone help the princess move her desk. She's too delicate to lift anything." Each time she said things like that, a group of boys who were close to her would join in and laugh loudly, one after another, as if it was all just harmless fun. At first, Brandon seemed uncomfortable with her teasing and would try to stop her with a few quiet words, but Clara just brushed it off. "I'm just joking around," she said. "Elsa is too uptight. I'm helping her get along better with everyone." Brandon nodded thoughtfully. "Well, Elsa does act a bit like a princess, I guess." Most girls are like that these days. Clara playfully punched his shoulder. Hey, don't lump me in with them. I'm not like that. Brandon smiled, and I felt a sourness rise in my chest. I had always known that in Brandon's eyes, I was delicate, emotional, maybe a bit spoiled. To him, liking pink, caring about cleanliness, and not being physically strong, these things added up to princess syndrome. Eventually, I could not take it anymore. That summer, I went to the beach with my parents. I got a tan. As had happened before, usually my skin would return to its original color after a few weeks indoors, so I didn't think much of it. But when school started again, I wore a light pink shirt under my uniform. Clara spotted it immediately. She raised her voice for everyone to hear. "Oh my gosh, Elsa, you're so dark now, and you're still wearing pink. Are you serious? That is so ridiculous." She laughed loud and exaggerated. "What kind of princess looks like this? Honestly, you look more like a little black dog." She and a few boys laughed together. Brandon, standing nearby, seemed to find it amusing too. I saw the corners of his mouth lift. In that moment, something in me broke. Shame and helplessness surged through me. My face burned, and my fists clenched tight. Then, without thinking, I picked up my water bottle and splashed its contents right onto Clara's face. She froze, shocked, and then started wiping frantically. Her makeup had smudged from the water. "Cough, cough. What are you doing? Are you crazy?" she shouted. I stood there, heart pounding, and for once, I said nothing. I mimicked her saying, "You wear double eyelid tape, foundation, and lipstick even during school. No wonder you are not a princess. You are just here to sell your smiles, aren't you?" A few boys frowned and stepped in to stop me. Brandon was at the front. He took the water cup from my hand and said sternly, "Elsa, apologize." He looked down at me with a scowl, his tone cold and commanding. My eyes were red, but I met his gaze without flinching. "Didn't you hear what she said about me? She compared me to a dog." Brandon remained calm. "That is one thing. You already scolded her back, but splashing water on her, that was going too far. You need to own up when you do something wrong. Be good. Do not be so petty." He made it sound like this was just how things worked. "Just apologize. Clara will not hold a grudge." I gave a cold laugh. "Apologize? My ass." His eyes widened, and then he slapped me hard. I skipped the rest of the day's classes and went straight home. I stormed into my room and began tearing the place apart, pulling books from shelves, opening every drawer, every cabinet. I grabbed a big cardboard box and threw in everything Brandon had ever given me since we were kids. One by one, I packed it all up, making sure not a single item was left behind. When the box was full, I carried it downstairs and dumped it into the trash can. My parents were not home yet. I picked up my phone and called my mother. "Hello, baby, what is it?" She answered warmly. "Mom," I said coldly, "when you come home, please go tell Uncle and Aunt that I am breaking up with Brandon starting today. He is not allowed to step into our house again. Tell him to stay far away from me." When my mom got home and saw the red mark on my face, her expression turned from concern to fury. I told her everything that had been happening lately. Her fists clenched, veins visible on her hands as she listened. Without another word, she turned and stormed over to Brandon's house. Aunt looked puzzled when she opened the door, but my mother did not hesitate. She told her everything. How Brandon had slapped me across the face, how he stood by while the new transfer student mocked me, how he even sided with her. Aunt's face turned pale, then green, then white again. Our families had been close for years, but today, because of me, that relationship fractured. Yet my mother did not blame me. Instead, she looked at me gently and said, "Our Elsa will not be bullied by anyone. No matter what you choose, your father and I will stand by you." At that moment, the sadness and hurt I had been holding in finally spilled over. My nose tingled, and I threw my arms around her, crying uncontrollably. That evening, Brandon came home. He must have seen everything I had thrown in the trash because he came banging on our door. "Elsa, come out. Let's talk." I opened the door. He stood there, his face like ice. "Why did you throw away everything I gave you?" "That is none of your business," I said flatly. The slap from that morning was still fresh on my cheek. He had not held back, and now one side of my face was swollen, the marks of his fingers clearly visible. The swelling had not gone down, it had only worsened. Brandon's expression shifted. He stared blankly at the bruise on my face. After a long pause, he murmured, How could it be this serious?" He reached out to touch my face, but I stepped back without a word. In the past, whenever I got even a small scratch or bruise, I would cry to Brandon, asking him to comfort me. I was not actually afraid of pain. I had a high tolerance, sometimes not noticing injuries for days. I just wanted to be pampered by someone I liked. Brandon used to say I was fragile, but deep down, I knew he liked the feeling of being needed. But not anymore. Now I had nothing left to give him, not even my vulnerability. Brandon had never seen me this cold. For a moment, he looked completely lost. "I didn't mean it, Elsa. You were cursing, and I just lost my temper." I cut him off. "Since you are here, let's be clear. From now on, we are strangers. If you see me at school, don't speak to me, and do not come knocking on my door like this ever again." I turned to close the door, but he grabbed my hand. His gaze was fixed on me, and I saw his emotions shift. First regret, then anger, then disbelief. "Is this really necessary, Elsa? If this is about the slap, I'll apologize, but don't you think you are overreacting? What if you regret this later?" "I will not regret it."
"Why?"
"Just because of one slap." "Yes," I said firmly, "because of that slap." Brandon laughed bitterly, shaking his head. "Fine, if that is what you want, then so be it." He slammed the door behind him and left. The next day, Brandon and Clara publicly announced in class that they were officially dating. I was not surprised. Looking back, the signs had always been there. When Clara first transferred to our school, her bright and bubbly personality made her instantly popular with the boys, but she did not spend much time with the girls. She used to say things like, "I just like hanging out with boys, it's easier." Girls gossip too much and are always plotting something behind your back. I just cannot stand that kind of atmosphere. Those girls are all so sensitive. If you say the wrong thing, they take it personally and hold a grudge. I do not know how to get along with them. I feel more comfortable around boys. Because of comments like this, the girls in our class did not like her. Clara noticed the tension and pouted at the boys, sighing dramatically. I know, I should not have said that. Girls nowadays are too sensitive. I must have upset them deeply. So I guess I will be left out of their little group again. Whatever, I am used to it." But the truth was, she had isolated herself. She was the one who refused to hang out with us and called us overly sensitive. Then, when none of the girls paid attention to her, she turned around and accused us of ostracizing her, as if we were some exclusive cliques. When I got home, I could not help but complain to my parents. "Sweetheart, I understand how you feel," my mom said gently. "I have met people like that too. When you do, just keep your distance. Do not let them affect you, and definitely do not get too close." Brandon happened to be visiting our house that day. Upon hearing what we were discussing, his expression grew cold. He was not the type to gossip about others and clearly disapproved of what we were saying. "Uncle, father's best friend's name, aunt, mother's best friend's name, Elsa. It really is not nice to talk about people behind their backs," he said calmly. My parents and I were embarrassed and immediately fell silent. Later I found out that Brandon and Clara had somehow already formed a close friendship. Clara, who was good at English, sat right in front of him and often offered to help him with homework. Brandon struggled with English, and I used to be the one who helped him, but after Clara transferred in, she naturally took over that role. Clara also played basketball and quickly bonded with many of the boys, most of whom were Brandon's close friends, so it was only natural that she became part of their circle. Brandon's opinion of her shifted too. From someone who had made strange, mocking comments on her first day, she became, in his eyes, a warm, cheerful, and straightforward girl who just happened to speak a little too bluntly at times. Brandon never liked girls who stuck to him all day, but somehow, He quickly accepted Clara. In class, they passed notes and laughed together like no one else existed. After school, she would ride on the back of his bike, her arms wrapped around his waist, smiling brightly as they joked with friends. At first, I felt hurt and lost, but I kept telling myself they were just ordinary classmates. I convinced myself that Brandon liked me, that it was just a misunderstanding, but I had clearly overestimated myself. "We are in a serious relationship," Clara said one day, smiling as she sat on Brandon's lap. "Not like some people who cling to others under the excuse of being childhood friends and practically throw themselves at them." Then she glanced at us and added with a sly smile, "By the way, I know some girls like to run to the teacher about everything, but I hope no one reports our relationship. That would be really low." Brandon did not say a word. Some classmates congratulated them, while others quietly looked at me to see how I would react. Everyone knew Brandon and I had grown up together, and it was no secret that I liked him. Among all the boys, he was the only one I was close to. For the longest time, it had been just the two of us. My desk mate looked at me with concern, but I did not lift my head. I just kept reading, pretending everything was fine. The air around us turned stiff and awkward. Brandon let out a cold snort and turned his gaze away from me. After that, the two of them only grew closer. During breaks, Clara would take off her hair tie and playfully wrap it around Brandon's wrist, ordering him not to remove it. During class, they still passed notes under the desk, and Brandon would sometimes laugh out loud, completely ignoring the rest of us. They always ate lunch together. Clara would steal chicken from his plate, and Brandon would just smile helplessly, letting her have her way. After school, she would hop on the back of his bicycle, holding on tightly, the picture of a couple in love. It had been 10 years. 10 years of my life. At first, it hurt, but eventually I learned to live with it. Just when I thought there would be no more interactions between us, Brandon stopped me after school one day at the gate. "Elsa," he said. His voice was low, and his expression unreadable, a mixture of frustration and something else I could not quite name. "Clara took a sick day today." I stared at him, confused. "So what?" Brandon frowned. "What did you say to her?" I was stunned. "Say? I have never even talked to her. I do not like chatting with people, especially not someone like Clara. Just seeing her annoys me. If she does not bother me, I would not speak to her for a whole year. So, what could I possibly have said to her?" Brandon's eyes were full of suspicion. "She was fine when I dropped her off last night, but this morning, she called in sick. I called to check on her, and all she did was cry and say she was sorry for you. She begged me to tell you not to be angry anymore." His voice grew harsher. "Tell me the truth. What did you say to her? Did you hit her? Are you crazy?" I had no interest in continuing this pointless conversation. I tried to push past him, but he grabbed my wrist from behind, holding me with a force that made it feel like he had no intention of letting go. "Elsa," he said, his eyes sharp and intense, "I know you are upset about our relationship, but this is going too far. Do you not remember that you were the one who said we agreed to pretend not to know each other no matter how jealous he felt?" Brandon looked like he wanted to say something, but after hesitating for a moment, he finally spoke in a low voice. "As long as you apologize to me, we can pretend nothing ever happened. Things can go back to the way they were." His tone was urgent, like he could not wait for me to respond, but I had had enough. "Are you out of your mind? Let go of me. Who do you think should apologize to you?" I snapped. "I did nothing wrong. You two can date however you want. I am actually really happy for you. Have 10 kids if you like. Just stay together forever and leave me out of it. Let go." Brandon's face darkened with disbelief, but his hand remained firmly in place. I was just about to struggle free when another hand suddenly rested on his arm. A calm voice spoke up. "It is not right to treat a girl like this, is it?" I turned toward the voice and saw a boy in a school uniform about our age. The sight of him startled me. "Charlie?" I said instinctively. Charlie had been a senior at our school. We once teamed up to represent our school in the provincial math competition, but we were never close. Still, I remembered him clearly. His face was hard to forget. Why was he here? Seeing the confusion on my face, Charlie looked at me and gave me a playful wink. Then, with a firm grip, he twisted Brandon's arm just enough to make his expression turn sour. Seizing the moment, I yanked myself free and ran without looking back. During physical education on Wednesday, I started to feel unwell, but I ignored it. Under the teacher's command, we began running laps. Boys and girls took turns, and the girls went first. As I ran, my vision blurred, my limbs felt numb, and I realized too late that my blood sugar had dropped. My knees buckled, and I fell awkwardly to the track. Gasps echoed around me. In the next moment, footsteps rushed toward me. A strong hand grabbed my arm and helped me up. It was Brandon. Your blood sugar dropped again, didn't it? Did you skip your meals? You are like this and still forcing yourself to run? Can you be a little more responsible for your own health? Does it hurt? I will take you to the infirmary. His voice was filled with frustration as he fussed beside me. Already irritated from the fall and the stares of my classmates, I pulled my arm back forcefully. Do not touch me. I can walk on my own. He growled. Is this really the time to hold a grudge against me? Can you please care about your own body? I will take you to the infirmary and leave right after that. Should make you happy, right? I let out a sarcastic laugh. Do you not get it? Low blood sugar is not some life-threatening condition. Just sitting down for a bit helps. I am not dying. Why do you have to drag me to the infirmary like some dramatic hero? Brandon clenched his teeth, his face twisted in frustration. After a pause, he hissed, Do you really have to be so ungrateful? I looked at him calmly. If that is what you think, there is nothing more to say. He let go of me with force and stormed off without looking back. When I arrived at the infirmary, it was quiet. Only one other student was sitting on a bed. It was Charlie. His eyes lit up when he saw me, and he greeted me with a cheerful smile. Hi, Elsa. What a coincidence, you two. I nodded quietly. Then I noticed his leg. Thick gauze was wrapped around his knee, already soaked with blood. The white bandages had turned a deep red. Noticing my stare, Charlie glanced down and scratched his head sheepishly. Oh, there was a part of the pavement sticking up on the court. I tripped during basketball practice. It is just a scratch, really. What about you? Are you all right? I remembered hearing that Charlie was the captain of the school's basketball team and quite popular. Seeing the bloody gauze made me queasy, and I unconsciously softened my tone. I am fine. Just a mild blood sugar drop. You should rest. Charlie nodded eagerly, still smiling brightly, looking nothing like someone seriously injured. Over the next few days, because of my health and his knee injury, we kept bumping into each other in the infirmary during morning breaks and runs. Gradually, we became familiar. Charlie was easy to talk to, cheerful and gentle, and always sensitive to others' feelings. Being around him felt relaxing. One day, while sitting on the infirmary bed, he looked at me with a slightly embarrassed smile. Elsa, I think our friendship could go a bit further. What do you think? I was caught off guard and quickly waved my hands to turn him down, but he did not give up. Even after we no longer needed to go to the infirmary, Charlie came to find me during every big break. Sometimes he brought candy, other times he brought my favorite milk. He always chose the seat nearest to me and chatted away, refusing to leave. Some girls around us seemed happy to make space for him too. Before long, rumors spread through the school that Charlie, a senior, was dating a second-year student, and everyone thought people kept saying we were in a relationship. I denied it, but they would only exchange knowing looks and say things like, It's fine if you don't want to admit it, everyone knows anyway. The girl sitting behind me leaned forward and whispered with curiosity, Hey, tell me, does Charlie really have 8-pack abs? I blinked, completely confused. How would I know that? But I still answered. Honestly, I don't know. Oh, come on. Don't keep secrets from your sisters at a time like this, she insisted. We're just curious. He never lifts his shirt to wipe his sweat during games. No girl has ever seen his body. That's top marks for male virtue. My desk mate nudged me with a grin. A senior on his team said he really has an 8-pack. You're his only girlfriend. You must have seen it, right? Tell us, how does it look? What does it feel like? I paused to think. It was true. He never pulled up his shirt during games, but why did I have a memory of him doing it before? I recalled how he often complained in the infirmary about the heat, saying there was no air conditioner. He would casually lift the hem of his shirt to wipe his sweat. After thinking for a bit, I muttered, almost without realizing, I think he does, but he's pretty slim. I haven't actually touched them. The girl behind me squealed. Oh my God, you're so lucky. Before I could even respond, she shouted again, louder this time. Shut up. I blurted, flustered. I've only seen them a few times. It's nothing, don't make it a big deal. I quickly reached back to cover her mouth. At that moment, a sharp crash rang through the classroom. We all turned to look. Brandon had broken a cup. His face was pale, and he stood frozen for a second before slowly crouching down to pick up the shards from the floor. As he bent over, Clara gasped, Brandon, your hand. That was when I noticed the cut. Blood was running down his finger, bright red. He just stared at it, dazed, like he couldn't feel the pain at all. Brandon, I have tissues, come here, I'll wrap it up for you, Clara said, reaching for his hand, but he pulled away and, under everyone's eyes, walked straight toward me. His wound was deep, but he did not even flinch. With every step, blood dripped to the ground. When he reached me, he looked into my eyes and said in a quiet voice, I'm hurt, Elsa. Do you have a Band-Aid? I stared at him silently. Of course I had one. I always did, and he knew that. When we were younger, Brandon often got into fights for me. Back in primary school, boys would pull my braids, lift my skirt, and stuff strange things into my school bag just to scare me. In middle school, a boy who had a crush on me got angry when I rejected him. He and his friends started spreading ugly rumors, saying I led boys on and took gifts while pretending to be innocent. Brandon fought each of them, one after another, until no one dared to say anything about me again. Once, the boy who spread the rumors waited for Brandon with a few others after school. They shoved him in the hallway and pushed him into one of the large glass windows. It shattered. Brandon crashed through and fell to the ground. Luckily, it was the first floor, so he did not suffer major injuries, but his arms were covered in cuts from the glass shards. When I found him, his school uniform was soaked in blood, his face was twisted in pain, but he still gritted his teeth and said to me, It's fine. It doesn't hurt. I cried so hard I could barely see, helpless as the blood continued to seep from his wounds. Since that day, I have always carried Band-Aids with me. After that, no matter what happened, I never asked for his help again. I dealt with it myself. I just didn't want him getting hurt because of me. Even when he laughed at me for making a big deal out of carrying Hello Kitty Band-Aids, I could see the smile in his eyes. He liked it. But when Clara transferred in, she saw one fall from my bag and immediately mocked me. You're still using Hello Kitty Band-Aids? That's so childish. You're still trying to act cute even when you're hurt. Brandon had listened to her and nodded, smiling faintly. Pulled from my memories, I looked at him and gently shook my head. I won't give you a Band-Aid, I said. Not anymore. Brandon did not look surprised. His face went even paler, and he laughed bitterly. I see. His eyes dimmed like falling stars. After school, Clara waited for me at the back door of the classroom. Let's talk, she said. This time, there was no smirk, no playfulness. Her face was serious. I was getting tired of this. First Brandon, now Clara. One after another. What did they want from me? They could date each other all they wanted. I just wanted to live my life in peace. We barely interacted. Why did one person stop me today and another asked to talk the next day? Clara stared at me, her tone heavy. I really don't get it, she said. What is it about you that makes him miss you so much? I almost laughed. Stop circling around, I said coldly. Just say what you want to say. Her expression darkened for a moment, and she glared at me with resentment. You must be feeling proud of yourself, right? Even though Brandon is with me now, he still has feelings for you. When he saw you with another guy, he was completely devastated. He has not paid any attention to me these past few days. I really do not understand what is so great about your dramatic, so-called princess syndrome. He was just upset and accidentally slapped you, and you broke up with him without a second thought. You only did it because you felt humiliated, right? Just because your vanity was hurt, you were willing to abandon your childhood sweetheart, the boy who grew up with you. You are selfish, narrow-minded, and cold. Clara poured it all out in one breath, her tone full of accusation, as if she was genuinely outraged. I stayed quiet and listened, then calmly replied, "You do not need to test me. I will not take him back." She froze. I gave her a small smile. It must be humiliating, having your boyfriend admit he was just using you to test the feelings of his childhood sweetheart. But don't worry. I meant what I said when I told him we would act like strangers from now on. Elsa, never go back on my word, and I never pick up what I have already thrown away. Go back and tell Brandon I still feel the same. Stay away from me. The farther the better. Clara's face twisted for a second, a complicated mix of guilt, frustration, and disbelief. As I turned to leave, I heard her voice behind me, sounding strangely uncertain. Elsa, is it really just because of that slap? Just because he hit you once? Yes, I answered without hesitation. Just because of that slap. That evening, I received a call from an unknown number. Without thinking much, I picked up. Elsa, a familiar voice said. It was Brandon. He must have changed his phone number. Are you done? I asked coldly, already prepared to hang up. Wait, listen to me, Brandon said. I did not respond. After a pause, his voice came again, hoarse and trembling. I read your diary. For a moment, my mind went blank, then I quickly understood. He must be talking about the diary I had once written. I only had one, the one he gave me when I was 10. I had treasured it like a precious gift and started journaling ever since. I wrote in it for years. That diary held all the memories of my love for him, every moment we shared, every small detail. I had even imagined that one day when we got married, I would give it to him as a confession of my long-kept feelings. Had he not thrown it away? I said nothing. I picked it up that day, Brandon said, his voice shaking. I am sorry, Elsa. I read your diary.
I did not know you liked me that much.
I am sorry I ignored your feelings all this time. I really regret hitting you that day. Over the years, I never saw you as just a sister, Brandon, I interrupted. What day did you pick everything back up? He fell silent. It has been days, hasn't it? I said, smiling faintly. Then why are you only calling me about it tonight? Did you just open the diary today? His voice became faint. Is it because you're in a relationship now, and you're starting to feel insecure? You think your position is threatened, so suddenly, after all these months, you had the urge to dust off that diary and read it today? Is that it? Elsa, it is not like that, he began, but I did not let him finish. Brandon, an apology or confession that comes too late does not redeem anything. In fact, it only makes what is left behind feel wrong. That diary means nothing now. You should throw it away. Don't call me again, and don't try to find me. It is really exhausting. I hung up. There was still a week to go before my birthday. My parents had planned a party and asked me to invite my classmates. At first, I did not want to invite Brandon or the others, but since they had been behaving well lately, I saw no reason to create unnecessary drama, so I sent out invitations to everyone equally. Charlie even had the nerve to ask me for one in person. On the day of the party, I wore a beautiful dress. Brandon came too, dressed in a suit, and Clara was with him, her makeup flawless. When she saw me, she tightened her grip on his arm and pressed herself close, almost clinging to him. Brandon's expression remained blank. I did not greet them. I just walked straight to the elders. The party was cheerful and full of laughter, but after a while, I started to feel tired. I stepped out onto the terrace to enjoy the cool breeze alone. Then I heard footsteps behind me. I did not want to admit it, but after knowing him for so many years, I could recognize Brandon's footsteps without turning around. He came to a stop behind me. Elsa, he said softly, can we talk? I turned. His eyes were red. Sure, I said with no emotion, but if possible, I hope this is the last time. His face went pale. He gave a bitter laugh. Do we really have to end like this, Elsa? Even if I beg you now, will you really not forgive me? I looked away. I just don't get it, he said. You have always liked me, haven't you? And you know I liked you too. We were just one confession away from being together. Why are you treating me like this now? He had finally said it. For the first time, he admitted he liked me, but the timing could not have been worse. And again, just like before, he asked, "Is it really just because of that slap?" I still nodded without hesitation. Yes, just because of that slap. I had heard the truth that day. It was not just a moment of anger or a careless loss of control. It had been planned. The day before it happened, I had seen Brandon take Clara home. Uneasy, I followed them from a distance. He and a few of his friends brought Clara to a hot pot restaurant. They were laughing and chatting while eating. "She's been following you since elementary school," one of them joked. "Isn't that the so-called childhood sweetheart? She still likes you, right?" "Of course," another chimed in. "She only talks to Brandon in class. She's been chasing you for 9 years now. Brandon, you still haven't said yes. Do you even like her?" My heart clenched. Brandon chuckled and replied casually, "I do like her, but I don't really want to date her. She's too delicate, too much trouble." The table erupted in laughter. "Aren't you worried she'll give up if you keep stringing her along?" Brandon shook his head.
No way.
"Girls like her. Once they fall for someone, they cling on forever. They won't let go that easily." That was when Clara's voice rang out, soft and sweet. "Yeah, I know that type. She likes everything pink. Her whole room is pink. She acts all fragile and sweet, always depending on others. No matter how badly Brandon treats her, she keeps holding on. Just show her a little kindness, and she'll think the world of you. She still dares to come up to us, even though I'm around," she added with a laugh. "I bet even if you slap her in public and apologize afterward, she'll still forgive you. Is she really that clueless?" "Brandon, why don't you try it?" someone said. "Slap her. She'll probably just cry on the spot." In that noisy restaurant, Brandon's voice rang out clearly. "All right then, let's try it." Back in the present, Brandon's hands trembled slightly. "Elsa, listen to me. It's not what you think. I just said those things to impress them. I did not mean it." I stared at him quietly. "You always told me it was wrong to talk about others behind their backs, so tell me, Brandon, how are you any better?" The color drained from his face. I sighed, a long, tired sigh. Oddly enough, I no longer felt angry. The pain and sadness had settled into something colder, like I was watching someone else's story. "I know you liked me, but I also know you were unsure. You thought Clara was great too. You liked her enough to want to impress her. That is normal, Brandon, I get it. You like me because we grew up together, because I am pretty and I loved you deeply. That kind of attachment is hard to ignore. But deep down, we are not compatible. You see me as beautiful, yes, but you also think I am fragile and clingy. You think my love for pink means I am childish. You think I act like a spoiled little princess. Guys like you, those who see themselves as strong and rational, will always be drawn to girls like Clara, girls who are different, bold, confident. Even if it is not Clara, someday it will be someone else just like her. But you should not have stepped on me to make yourself look better." I gave a cold laugh. "How dare you slap me? Do you know no one has ever dared lay a hand on me? Who do you think you are?" Brandon looked lost, devastated. I had struck something deep, something he did not want to admit even to himself, and he had no defense. I met his eyes, steady and calm. Finally, he asked, dazed, "Elsa, don't you love me anymore?" "I never loved you," I said softly, without hesitation. "What?" Brandon's lips went pale, and his eyes widened. I looked straight at him. "I used to like you. I liked you for many years since we were little. My feelings had nothing to do with what you did, or did not do. They came from my own heart, my imagination. I thought about you and created a version of you I wanted to believe in. I did not need your response. That love was enough for me until recently." "Why?" he asked, barely audible. "Because even now when I see you, my face still aches." Brandon said nothing. His face turned completely pale. Later, I heard that Brandon and Clara broke up, though I never knew the reason. Clara eventually applied for a class transfer, and Brandon changed. He stopped hanging out with his old friends. Every morning, he brought me my favorite breakfast. At lunch, he would quietly get in line early and bring me the most popular dishes. After school, he followed me at a distance, saying he wanted to make sure I got home safely. It was as if time had rewound itself, as if we were back in elementary school. Only now he treated me even better than before. I asked him why he was doing all this. He never gave a clear answer. He just looked at me with quiet eyes full of regret and said, "I just want to make it up to you. I want to take care of you." To be honest, I could not drive him away. No one could. He was stubborn, and it was exhausting. Around that time, my parents' company had plans to transfer them for a project, coincidentally to my mother's hometown. Brandon had always been impatient, and he had never truly lost his temper with me until the day he slapped me. I told no one in advance. On a quiet weekend, I sent a few goodbye messages to close classmates. Brandon was the last one to find out.